In today's video, you're going to learn how to start your very own LLC, which is pillar one of my Lock It Down legal protection system for online entrepreneurs. Starting an LLC is incredibly important because what most online entrepreneurs do is they set it up the wrong way, or they wait too long to get it set up, or they just never set one up at all to begin with. And when you do one of those three things, what you're doing is you're really wasting a lot of time, money, and effort because you're never getting the benefits that an LLC can provide for your business. And those benefits include protecting your personal assets from your business liabilities, protecting your business from your personal liabilities, which is one that most people forget about. And also there's a number of tax benefits to setting up an LLC that you just can't take advantage of if you never set it up to begin with. As you're watching this so far, you might be thinking to yourself, man, that's exactly what I'm going through right now. And if so, you're in the right place, because today I'm going to talk to you exactly how to start your LLC the right way. All right, you with me? Let's do this. So there are 10 steps that you need to follow to getting your LLC set up the right way. And I'm going to go through those one by one here today. Some of them might take a little bit longer to explain than others. So let's just go ahead and start with step number one. And step number one is that you need to determine that the LLC is actually the right business entity for your business. Because all this other stuff just doesn't mean anything if an LLC is not the right thing for you. So the other options you might have available to you are forming a corporation, or maybe a sole proprietorship, or maybe you're in a partnership with somebody. There's a lot of other options that might be available to you. And an LLC, while it's good for probably, I'd say 90–95% of businesses, it's not good for everyone. So the first thing you need to do is make sure that an LLC is actually right for your situation. Now, assuming that an LLC is right for your situation, then the second step you need to be thinking about is you need to pick a name for your LLC. This is an incredibly important step and an incredibly powerful step because this is where a lot of people get hung up. But when you put a name to what you're going to call your business, now all of a sudden it's a tangible thing. It's not just out there in the ether somewhere. It's something that you're actually thinking about, oh wow, this isn't just me doing a side hustle. I actually have a business, and this is what that business is going to be called. And so that's step number two, is you actually have to pick a name for your LLC, which goes nicely into step number three, is you need to make sure that nobody else is using that name. Now, in just about every other state, I think Texas can get a little bit tricky, and there might be another state that's a little bit tricky, but in just about every state, you can actually go online to the Secretary of State's office in your state, and you can do a search to see if anybody else is using the name that you want to use for your LLC. So you want to make sure you do that, and you want to make sure that your name is available. And then you also want to make sure that your name is legally valid, because there are some things in certain states, they've got quirky naming rules you need to watch out for. So check the rules in your state, make sure that you've got a name, it's available, and that it is a legally viable name that you can use in your state, and that nobody else is using that name. And the reason why this is so important, I will also say, is that if you do pick a name and you don't do a search, and somebody else is using that name, then the Secretary of State is going to actually reject your filing. And then you could be out the filing fees, and you have to go through the whole process again. So you definitely want to make sure that you pick a name that nobody else is using. And then you can move on to step number four. Going with water today. Step number four is that you have to go out and get a virtual address. Now, this is actually not something that's legally required. It's not something you have to do, but I strongly encourage you to think about doing this, and there's really a couple reasons why. Number one, by having a virtual address, you're going to be protecting your personal privacy. And for a lot of you out there, that's probably something that's very important. You don't want anybody being able to figure out where you live, specifically customers or maybe people that don't like you or whatever, who know that you have this business. You don't want people going out and figuring out where you live and maybe harassing you at home. I don't know. I don't know why somebody would be doing that, but I guess it potentially could happen. So in terms of picking out a virtual address, a lot of people like to use a P.O. box. I'm not a big fan of P.O. boxes, and the reason for that is it's a lot of work. You've got to actually go to the post office box and you've got to get your mail. I would be looking for a service where they can scan your mail, where they can email it to you, where they can upload it to a portal, or they can actually forward it to you directly. The post office is not going to do any of those things, and so I'm not a big fan of the post office. It is cheap. It doesn't cost a whole lot to get a post office box, but I think the benefits you get from having an actual virtual address where somebody is actually opening your mail, scanning it, uploading it to you, you get it immediately that same day. I think there's a huge benefit to doing it that way, and that's what I would recommend. Not only does it keep your home address private by doing this, the other main benefit to this is you're going to be getting, after you file this LLC and you get your LLC formed, you are going to get inundated with so much spam. I mean, like stacks and stacks and stacks of spam. You won't believe how much spam you're going to get, and if you don't like that, I would get a virtual address. The other thing, and this is probably more important than you would think, but if you are younger maybe, or even older, however old you might be, and you're living with family members and you just started a business, they might be too keen on getting all that spam that you're getting sent to their address. So if you're living with a bunch of either family members or roommates or whoever, and you don't want them all into your personal business knowing what's going on, or frankly, you just don't want to piss them off by getting a lot of spam to your home address, then I would use a virtual address. Would probably be the best option there. I probably talked way more about virtual addresses than I needed to in this video, but let's move on to the next thing. Oh, and then the other thing I will tell you about virtual addresses is it's just gonna make your business look a little bit more legit than if you're using your home address. So just another thing to think about. Along those lines, number 5 is you have to have a registered agent. Now you have to pick this. Now you can serve as your own registered agent. I don't recommend it because you're running into the same issue that you had with the previous step, in that you have to disclose your home address, because a registered agent has to be on hand during normal business hours throughout the year to accept, service, or process of any type of legal mail that might come to you. And that could be subpoenas, it could be tax notices, it could be lawsuits, it could be, stuff from the government. I don't know. It could be a lot of different things. And things that your LLC needs to get. A registered agent is there to make sure that your LLC receives due process and that they can actually get legal notices. Now, if you list yourself and your home address and you decide to go take 6 months and go to Maui, or go to Europe, or go to wherever you want to go and live the laptop lifestyle, well, if you get sued or you get some sort of legal notice and you miss it because you've got yourself listed as the registered agent at your home address, that's a big problem. So my recommendation is to use a corporate registered agent. It's usually about $100-200 a year to hire somebody to do this for you, and they'll basically will accept service of any type of legal notices that come to your business on your behalf. The other thing that's nice about this is they will give you an address that you'll use for the registered agent address, and that way you don't have to list your home address as the registered agent. So if you go to all the effort of getting a virtual mail address for your business and then you list your home address as the registered agent, you just it doesn't make any sense, does it? So you just kind of wasted an opportunity there to maintain your privacy. So I would go with the corporate registered agent. So you've got your address, you got your registered agent, you got your name. What do you need to do now? Well, you need to head on over to the Secretary of State's website in your state, do a Google search for whatever state you're in, Secretary of State, and then look for some sort of link somewhere that's going to say form a business or form an LLC or something like that. If you live in any state except for Maine, Maine is the only state where you're going to actually still need to fill out paperwork and mail it into the state or hand deliver it to the state to get your LLC filed. But if you live in any other of the 50 states, there's a couple other states that have some quirky rules. I think Louisiana is one and maybe Delaware. But if you live in any other state, you can do all of this online. It'll be fairly simple. I say that, there's always some quirks in some states that make it a little bit more difficult. But basically, you can go online and find the Secretary of State's office. You might need to set up an account, an online account with your state to do all this. Some of them just allow you to go right in and start filling out the paperwork. Once you have your name, your address, and your corporate registered agent, you can go online and find wherever it says in your state to form an LLC, form that account, and then start going from there. Fill out that paperwork online. Which leads us to the next step, which is step number 8, where you're going to actually fill out that certificate. You're going to fill out your articles of organization online through the website, or if you live in Maine, with the paperwork. This could also be called a certificate of formation in some states. Other states might have different names for this paperwork, but it's basically the paperwork you need to file, that you need to fill out and file with your state so that they will go ahead and form your LLC. And what happens is you fill out the stuff, all the fields and the things online, and then it gets filled into a PDF document of some sort, and then it gets submitted to the state electronically, and they will file it for you. If after they've reviewed it, they've checked your name, they've made sure everything is legit, and then they will go ahead and file that for you. Now, that's not going to happen just yet, though. There's one more step in the process, and that's step number 9. You need to pay the filing fees. The filing fees are going to vary by state. The lowest states, there's a number of them that have a filing fee of around $50. The highest state is Massachusetts, which is a filing fee of $500, I believe. California is one of those ones that you need to really look at and be careful about, because the filing fee there is only, I think, $70 or $75. But in April of next year, you're going to owe a franchise tax of $800. So you need to be careful about that if you live in California. But you pay the filing fees. That's the last step, and then you submit the paperwork online. Review everything, make sure it's correct, make sure you're good to go. Hit that enter button and submit your paperwork online. And then the 10th step is you're going to get all those documents back from the state. Woohoo! Now you've got your LLC, you're good to go. Well, for now anyway. That is how you get your LLC set up. But if that's all you do, and then you take all that paperwork back from the state, and I might add, it also will take anywhere from, it'll be instantaneous in some states to up to 2 weeks in other states to get that paperwork back. But once you get that paperwork back, if you just sit it into a drawer and close the door and say, boom, boom, I got my LLC, I'm good to go. Yeah, you're gonna have problems. There's a lot more issues that you're still gonna need to contend with for your LLC. You're not out of the woods just yet, because there are other things that you need to do to make sure that you have the legal protections in place that you need for your LLC. So that's why you need to check out this video right here that talks about all the things that you need to do after you form your LLC to make sure that you're legally protected. So don't forget to check that out. I'll see you in the next video. Thanks for watching, folks.